Sometimes it's easy to feel like you've got more problems than Jay-Z going through a math textbook. And when you're depressed, it seems like the only tips you get are from Facebook moms who tell you to just eat more kale and unlock your chakras, or the general public who tells you to just chug a cocktail of pills and potions and cross your fingers and hope that Zeus or Jesus or somebody will zap your brain and make those meds kick in. And I speak as someone with experience. There was a period of 2 or 3 years where I was just extremely depressed and even bedridden for some of that time. But now for the past several years, I've been kind of crushing it on the happiness front. Like my average day is probably an 8.5 out of 10. So I'd figured I'd just share some of the things that have helped me and hopefully they could help y'all too. One, by and large, the biggest thing you can do is find a way to be a deeply integrated part of something bigger than yourself, whether it's your family or your kids or your church group or running club or whatever. And I'm sure you've heard something along these lines, but let me explain because trust me, it helps. Because maybe you're an extreme introvert and you think, nah, I'd rather experience the constipation induced by consuming a metric ton of Chef Boyardee than to wander into a group of strangers. Well, for one, you might at least give it a try just to see what you're capable of. But even if you can't, you could at least reach out to an organization and say, hey, can I do some video editing for you guys? Or can I help you with some newsletters or emails or something? I don't know. Or just reach out to a friend and say, is there anything I can help you with remotely, like from my computer? Or you could take a bigger risk and just say, hey, can I come over sometime and just help you with chores or a project or something? You wouldn't believe how much helping someone out with their problems will help you unravel your own a bit. And a big part of my coming, I was going to say my coming out, not like that. Me coming out of my depressive spiral was just spending a lot more time with my kids and my family, and even being involved with the church that I had a lot of differences with, to put it lightly, just so that I could be helpful and try to focus on other people's problems instead of mine for a while. And those people will look out for you when you don't have the drive or the willpower to look after yourself. Because I kind of had to stage an intervention for myself and had to meet a few close friends and say, look, here's my situation. I need help processing and coming up with a game plan to move forward. So trust me, you need community. It helped a ton. And just do not mistake Reddit threads or online groups as community. I know there can be some great community online. I mean, I hope to build some here, but you need flesh and blood people in your life to get better. Two, and this kind of goes hand in hand, but just try literally one thing differently and see if it helps. I heard a story of a depressed guy who wanted to start just by cleaning his room, and all he could do was get the vacuum cleaner in the doorway, and he just left it there, and it ended up being there for weeks, where he'd just scoot around it every time he went in and out of his room. But, hey, that's a start. And eventually he thought, you know what, I can do this. And he at least vacuumed the part of his room that wasn't covered with clothes, because it's a lot to pick everything up and get under everything. And because when you're super depressed, it's so hard to muster the will to do anything. So any baby step is a victory. So don't downplay that and just try to take one step at a time, the next step, even if it takes you weeks or months to do that. By the way, I'm Andrew. This is my co-host, Oakley, and we currently take donations in the form of subscribes or belly rubs, for him mostly, right? 3. If you have something specific to grieve, create some kind of ritual to help you grieve, and this is like a foreign concept in our culture, oddly enough, but you might not even be depressed. You might just be legitimately grieving something. Maybe your mother passed, or you lost your job, or your marriage ended. It'd be a problem if you weren't extremely sad for a while. I had a good friend who moved states and then shortly after tragically passed, and by the time I heard about it, it was too late for me to go to the funeral, so it was really hard to process. Like, there was no closure, and that was really hard for me to wrap my mind around for a while. So I eventually gathered some friends locally who knew him, and we shared stories and pictures and old videos of us with him, and it was so helpful to just close out that chapter, because maybe you need to go to where you and your ex first met with a couple of friends and make some new memories there. You wouldn't believe just the simple power that a ritual can have. Humans are very basic creatures, and it's hard to get past our wiring and need for tangible things to move past intangible feelings. 4. And I'm about to lose some people, but let me be clear, I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but it really helped me personally to have a profound realization that life isn't all about me and my problems, because when my depression started affecting others in a negative way, a little good old-fashioned self-shame was actually kind of helpful. And okay, shame probably isn't the right word, but I think that society has become so empathetic, which overall is a great thing, but the downside is that there really is a time to not excuse your emotional state and psychoanalyze and say, well, I'm this way because my dad did this and my mom told me that, and I'm on the spectrum and this other thing didn't work out for me, and so on. Believe me, I know that life can get really, really hard and rough. But I also, believe me when I say that most everybody goes through something pretty intense and traumatic in their life. You don't have to look very far to find someone you know who has had a serious health issue or has had a traumatic miscarriage or had a parent who passed when they were young or something like that. There's this scene in No Country for Old Men where Tommy Lee Jones is talking to his cousin and he's complaining about how bad the world is and all the crime and violence and kids with green hair and tattoos, and his cousin just cuts him off and essentially says, look, buddy, things have always been this way. Things have always been crazy and constantly changing, and to think that your situation is special is really just vanity. Those are just some tough words, and maybe overly stated, but when I was depressed, that actually really helped me when I saw that movie. I felt like my life situation was almost custom crafted to hurt the worst possible amount and be the most impossible to overcome. And it's totally normal and healthy to sit in that suffering for a while, but months become years, and when your depression constantly and consistently causes problems for other people, eventually you just have to say, enough is enough, and even though I have no idea how I'm going to make a change, I'm going to at least meet with someone or a group of people and ask for help so that I don't keep hurting others. Which, if you have a story of how you've overcome depression or just want to ask more questions of how to overcome depression, leave them in the comments below. I would seriously read every single one of them. 5. One last thing. My wife has a degree in nutrition, and she'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, so don't hate me, and I promise this is more than just eat some kale, but I've got a couple of serious diet hacks that can help with depression. First and foremost, if you're depressed, just don't drink alcohol. It's literally a depressant. In my lowest points in life, I would think, why am I in such despair? I'm sure the 3 or 4 glasses of whiskey I have nightly aren't related at all. I'm Irish. I love alcohol as much as any redbeard, but just cut out at least until you get better, cut it out. Also, you don't have to start by eating like a health saint, because that's a tall order, but you can at least stop eating absolute trash. You won't believe how much your brain fog will just clear up just by removing things. I had a friend who was pretty seriously depressed, and I was like, look, man, I know this isn't going to solve all your problems by any means, but it couldn't hurt to at least make some eggs for breakfast instead of exclusively eating Pop-Tarts, because sugars and trans fats and alcohol and all those things are just like yeast that catalyze depression, and what you can cut will probably be more useful and initially than even what you can add. And if you do want to add something, I started taking vitamin D3 and K every day because it's supposed to help make you a little happier, and I thought I will take all the potential help I can get. So I'll put a link to that one below, and please subscribe so that Oakley can afford to keep up his lavish lifestyle. Here's a slideshow of him as a reward for making it to the end of the video.